Krishna, Krishna, Krishna.
Krishna, 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 Krishna.
I don't know if I told you, Maharaj, but I was on the phone with Satsvarup Maharaj the other day, and I was just saying in between conversation bits, Krishna, Krishna. And he said, that's what Jayadvaita Maharaj always says.
I don't think I'm the only one.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai. Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajaka Stottarishri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Ramana Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Go. Now, what messed up there? Let's see.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. And thank you, everyone, for being here for Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. It's Friday, January 13th, 2022 in New York, a day later in Vrindavan. And we're starting tonight in the third canto with chapter 13, the appearance of Lord Varaha, starting with text number 1. And very much interested to hear your comments and questions as always. And if you'd like to lead tonight's closing kirtan, please send me a direct message. That would be great. And we're so happy you could be with us, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Akendra Prabhu. And thank you to all. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Shukuvacha Nishamya Vacham Vadato Mune Tamam Napa Bhuya Praprachcha Kauravyo Vasudeva Katadritaha. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, after hearing all these most virtuous topics from the sage Maitreya, Vidura inquired further on the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which he adored to hear. The word adrita is significant because it indicates that Vidura had a natural inclination for hearing the transcendental message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he was never fully satisfied, though continuing to hear those topics. He wanted to hear more and more so that he could be more and more blessed by the transcendental message. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Tapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Chagrajatam Bhagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Vrijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Priye Vansha Kolpataruyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Shukuvacha Nishamya Vacham Vadato Mune Punyatamam Nripa Puya Praprachcha Kauravya Vasudeva Katadrita Vasudeva Katadrita. Prabhupada said he had a natural inclination to want to hear about Krishna. That means natural attraction to Krishna. This is very much to be desired. Adrita also means respect or attention. So he wanted to hear these topics with respect, with attention, because he was naturally enthusiastic, naturally inclined to hear. And he knew that he would be blessed by hearing these transcendental topics. Viduru Vacha Savai Swayambhuva Sangrat Priya Putra Swayambhuvaha Pratilabhya Priyam Patnim Kim Chakarat Tato Mune. Vidura said, O great sage, what did Swayambhuva, the dear son of Brahma, do after obtaining his very loving wife? Choritam tasya rajar sher adi rajasya sattama bruhi me sharidhanaya vishvakshena shrayo yaso. O best of the virtuous, the original king of kings, Manu, was a great devotee of the personality of Godhead, Hari, and thus it is worth hearing of his sublime character and activities. Please describe them. I'm very eager to hear. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of the transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead and his pure devotees. In the absolute world, there's no difference in quality between the Supreme Lord and his pure devotee. Therefore, hearing the topics of the Lord and hearing of the character and activities of the pure devotee have the same result, namely the development of devotional service. So here, charita means qualities, character, topics. Charita Tasya Rajarshir. Please tell me about the characteristics of the Adi Raja, the original king, Raja Rishi, king of sage among kings. Bruhime Shradhanaya. I'm faithful or receptive, eager to hear. So please tell me about that king. Ashraya, Vishvakshen Ashraya, who took shelter of the personality of Godhead, Krishna. So, as Prabhupada points out, we want to hear about the devotees also, not just about Krishna. Krishna means with his devotees, and the topics of the devotees are as good as topics concerning Krishna direct. All right, there's a hand up there, looks like.
Oh, yes, Maharaj. Actually, it's mine. Thank you very much. This was on the first verse in purport where Vidura's eagerness to hear is being described. I was thinking how that eagerness to hear is like a gauge for measuring our spiritual advancement or our spiritual acumen or level of advancement, because if someone's really inclined to hear, then the speaker really can sense that and is even more willing and enthusiastic to speak. I've been in situations where I can really feel my limits approaching fast, and I think, okay, not in your classes, but some other places where I'm thinking, okay, this is the austerity of hearing, and I must perform this austerity. But yeah, and I was thinking how that was Prabhupada's own qualification by his own admission when he had the opportunity to hear from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta took note of that, and then, the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah. We hear fairly often these days about lobha or greed, how it's the qualification for advanced devotional service. So we might ask, greed for what? And we might answer that greed to hear, eagerness to hear. Eagerness to hear and chant about Krishna. That kind of eagerness, that kind of greed. Greed means greed for devotional service. Devotional service begins with hearing. So thank you for that. Okay.
There's also a couple of comments from Anantashesha Prabhu. He says, so Krishna Katha means also hearing about his devotees, and this verse expands the definition of Krishna Katha.
Yes, Prabhupada always made the point that Krishna is never alone. Krishna alone is impersonal. Krishna means with his devotees. Therefore, in the BBT paintings, there always had to be some devotee there. They'll never be like a Krishna in an Omkar or Krishna alone. At least there have to be some cows, some peacocks, something. Otherwise, impersonal. Now, Krishna means not alone, but Krishna means Krishna with his devotees, Krishna with Radharani, with cowherd boys, with Nanda Yashoda, or with here, Manu. And yes, Krishna Katha therefore means Krishna, just like we don't separate, Prabhupada said, Krishna from his form, Krishna from his qualities, Krishna from his dress, Krishna from his flute, Krishna from his peacock feather. So the Krishna from his devotees. This is the absolute world where Krishna is identical with his name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, entourage. The devotees are individual, they're servants of Krishna, but they're also, in one sense, as good as Krishna. So hearing about, or better, the devotees, the Lord considers the devotees better than himself. So, yes, Krishna Katha means Krishna with his devotees. Okay. No difference in quality between the Supreme Lord and pure devotee. Therefore, hearing topics of the Lord and hearing of the character and activities of the pure devotees have the same result. Development of the Lord. That's right. What should we do if we find that, let's see. Could you read that for me?
Sure. Prabhin Prabhu says, what should we do if we find that a speaker during the Bhagavatam class is frequently speaking from literatures, either karmi or even some unknown scriptures outside of Prabhupada's books?
Well, there's two different categories there. One is karmi literature. And the other is spiritual literature of some sort. So the karmi literature, we don't consider very important. Prabhupada also sometimes referenced karmi literature. If it would support some point he wanted to make. But we don't come to Bhagavatam class to hear the latest news from the material world. As far as other literature outside of Prabhupada's books, that's allowed. There's no ban on other literature. Here we're referring to, Kendra and I particularly were reading Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary along with Srila Prabhupada's, and we raised points from it during the class. And there are other scriptural authorities one may bring in, but it should be in support of what Prabhupada's teaching, not antithetical. And there's a certain, what should we say, emphasis or example or standard set by Srila Prabhupada about what we should talk about in the Bhagavatam classes. The Prabhupada didn't fill his classes with the latest news from Time and Newsweek and extended discussions of such things. He didn't fill his classes with self-help advice or psychology. He didn't fill his classes with raskata, highly elevated feelings of Krishna and the inhabitants of Vrindavan, especially the gopis. So we should try to catch up what Prabhupada's standard is and follow that. That will be good. And of course, there's room for variation. Some speakers will tend in one direction, some in another. direction. But we don't want to be procrustian, overly restrictive or demand. It has to be like this, it has to be like that. But it should be well within the realm of suitable topics, suitable for Krishna consciousness and suitable for the audience. That's helpful. Anything to add?
Saraswati Mata has a question here or a comment. Param Puji Maharaj, she says, I remember times as a child staying in small villages in India when many devotees would quickly finish their work, household chores, and assemble to hear Krishna Katha. The speaker would be so enlivened that the audience also felt so happy and eager to hear more. It became the highlight of their evening. Now, TV and cable took over this activity.
Yeah, the Prabhupada comments on that in Bhagavatam in second canto, that even a few years ago, in his memory, people used to gather in the evenings, and that's exactly what they would do. They would hear Krishna Katha. The villages weren't electrified, so they wouldn't have television and cable and all of that. And this was the pleasure of the villagers to gather and have kirtan and Krishna Katha. That's the real business of human life, not to be hooked into mundane media, or whether social media or other media, just for wasting time. I remember quite a number of years back, I was staying in the Gurukul building here in Vrindavan, and early in the evening, I sort of looked out toward the empty lot that was behind us, and there were a group of, it seemed like workers of some sort, or local Brajbasi people, men, workers of some sort, sitting on rocks together, and sort of gathered in a circle. And I thought, how nice they must be, engaged in Krishna Katha in some way. And then I saw that they were seated around the television. So, such is the age. I remember on Padayatra, we visited one village, and our host, we had always had a program in the evening, and so many people came, but our host didn't come because there was some soccer match or something that he wanted to see on the television. He had a television. So in this way, Maya takes over through digital or electronic means. And we think these are all conveniences, these are all necessities, these all help us become more connected and bring us closer together and make us better informed. But it makes us greater fools when we're distracted from Krishna Katha. It's so nice to sit and read Bhagavatam or discuss Bhagavatam with other devotees, and those who've really caught the essence, relish hearing and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam.
Ananta Shesha Prabhu, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, he says that the time that everyone gathers in front of the TV now they call prime time.
Yeah, what can we say? Anyway, I won't go on an extended bashing of media. That wastes time also. Shrutasya pungsam suchira shamasya manvandrasa suribir iditorta tatat gunash tatat gunanu shravanam mukunda paradavindam priyeshu yesham. Persons who hear from a spiritual master with great labor and for a long time must hear from the mouths of pure devotees about the character and activities of pure devotees. Pure devotees always think within their hearts of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, who awards devotees liberation. Purport. Transcendental students are those who undergo great penance in being trained by hearing the Vedas from a bona fide spiritual master. Not only must they hear about the activities of the Lord, but they must also hear about the transcendental qualities of the devotees who are constantly thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord within their hearts. A pure devotee of the Lord cannot be separated from the lotus feet of the Lord for even a moment. Undoubtedly, the Lord is always within the hearts of all living creatures, but they hardly know about it because they are deluded by the illusory material energy. The devotees, however, realize the presence of the Lord, and therefore they can always see the lotus feet of the Lord within their hearts. Such pure devotees of the Lord are as glorious as the Lord. They are, in fact, recommended by the Lord as more worshipable than he himself. Madbhakta puja pyadika. Worship of the devotee is more potent than worship of the Lord. It is therefore the duty of the transcendental students to hear of pure devotees, as explained by similar devotees of the Lord. Because one cannot explain about the Lord or his devotee unless one happens to be a pure devotee himself. So here we find that hearing about the devotees is not only as good as hearing about the Lord, but even better than hearing about the Lord. Although in fact, the two are inseparable. When we hear about the devotees, naturally, their activities will be in connection with the personality of Godhead. And finally, it takes one to know one. The pure devotees can be understood or most appreciated by other pure devotees. Are there any other comments or questions?
I just wanted to ask a question here, Maharaj. When it says persons who hear from the spiritual master with great labor, Prabhupada doesn't talk so much about that particular point in his purport. I was just wondering what that, how you would describe or discuss that particular point.
Shrama. Shrama means great endeavor. Let's see if there's I learn anything more about. To make effort to exert oneself, especially in performing acts of austerity. Yeah, effort, serious effort. Let's see. different. Yeah, I see. Yeah, exertion, labor, effort, whether bodily or mental. To work hard at one's studies, shamkrit. Yeah. So it's to undergo the trouble, to undergo the effort. It may not come automatically, that we're just here automatically. We have to make time, especially householders have to make some time, or anyone, any devotee. We need to make some time to hear, we need to make some arrangement. Then we undergo some discomfort, sitting for half an hour, sitting for an hour, sitting for 2 hours. That's and then the mind also, it's like as the body might get tired from sitting, the mind starts to numb also. The mind wanders, and the mind starts thinking of the next thing on the agenda. The mind thinks about sports, the mind thinks about home affairs, the mind thinks about so many things. So to bring the mind under control and fix it on the topics of Krishna may require some effort. For those who are advanced, it's spontaneous. They're spontaneously eager to hear about Krishna. But for those who are less accomplished, we may have to undergo some discipline. We're told you have to be at the Bhagavatam class. The spiritual master says you have to attend the Bhagavatam class every day. So that we may say, oh, okay. But like everything in devotional service, even though it may be some trouble, it becomes wonderful. Yat tadagre vishnamiva pariname mitokam tatsukam sattvikam protana atma buddhi prasadika. This is happiness in the mode of goodness, and what to speak of transcendental happiness. It may be bitter in the beginning, but at the end, it's just like nectar. And this is what awakens us to spiritual realization. There was another comment, I think.
Yes, Saraswati Mata had a comment. I also wanted to say, to tag on what you were just saying, that I think this time that we've had with you in the last 3 years of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam many times a week is, at least for me, the most regular hearing I've had, participatory live format, since I lived in the temple. So thank you. And Saraswati.
For me, it's very also, just to be able to have this program regularly, just to spend the hour hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. It's such a blessing.
Saraswati Mata says, hearing from pure devotees is the only way the best of the worst, like me, can ever hold any hope of getting anywhere in spiritual life. Hearing their love of Krishna is overwhelming, and their mercy on conditional souls forms a lifeline.
Thank you. Yes.
And Morari Gupta Prabhu says, hearing about Krishna's devotees, like Srila Prabhupada, gives insights into Krishna consciousness in action.
Nice. Yeah, we love to hear about Prabhupada's activities. The just finished reading Harishari Prabhu's book about Prabhupada coming back to Vrindavan and his pastimes toward the end. And there's so many books, hearing about Prabhupada. There's so wonderful books and talks. Yes, instructive and enlivening. Therefore, devotees love to hear about Prabhupada. And then we love to hear about Prahlad Maharaj, about Dhruva Maharaj, about so many devotees connected with Krishna. Okay. Sri Shuku Vacha Iti Bhuvanam Viduram Vinitam Sahasra Shirshnas Charanopatanam Prahishta Roma Bhagavat Gatayam Praniyamano Munir Abhyachashta. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, was pleased to place his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura, because Vidura was very meek and gentle. The sage Maitreya was very pleased with Vidura's words, and being influenced by his spirit, he attempted to speak. The word Sahasra Shirshna is very significant. One who has diverse energies and activities and a wonderful brain is known as the Sahasra Shirshna, literally having 1,000 heads. This qualification is applicable only to the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and no one else. What is that? Sahasra Shirsha, Purushad, like that. Or in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvata Panipavam Tat Sarvato Krishido. So this qualification, Sahasra Shirshna, is applicable only to the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and no one else. Personality of Godhead was pleased to dine sometimes with Vidura at his home. And while resting, he placed his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura. Maitreya was inspired by the thought of Vidura's wonderful fortune. The hairs of his body stood on end, and he was pleased to narrate the topics of the personality of Godhead with great delight. Of course, that's the purpose of these verses, to inspire the speaker to hear, and to inspire the hearers to listen. We find such verses periodically in Srimad Bhagavatam, where the hearer is expressing eagerness, appreciation of the topics spoken, appreciation of the speaker, and eagerness to go on hearing. And so the speaker becomes enlivened. Yes, let me go on speaking. People are eager. They have questions. They're listening. They're keen to hear. They're appreciating. So let me speak more. There's a sort of a ritual now that's developed over the last couple of years, maybe in ISKCON. People don't just come out and ask questions anymore. They say, "Thank you for the very nice class," and then, or "Thank you for the wonderful class," and then they ask their question. And I suppose this was something that somebody must have figured that this is the correct etiquette, that we should express appreciation of the speaker, as we find in Srimad Bhagavatam so often. But now it's become like a little ISKCON ritual, another obligatory mm, item to add to our program. And it does, and the speaker doesn't get enlivened. It's just like, all right, get on with your question, will you? Thank you for the wonderful class. It's, comes right out of the can, and means really nothing. It's just like another social noise, like, so pleased to meet you, or others along those lines. Thank you for the wonderful class. Doesn't really mean anything. At least that's my experience. It just that someone's been trained to spout that phrase, or to respectfully say this little thing that you're supposed to say. Okay, it's a little essay on. Thank you for the wonderful class. And on the other hand, when somebody really appreciates a point and bounces off of that, or inquires further, or is really on topic and following your argument or your thought, then you think, oh, they liked the class, they were listening. Otherwise, just thank you for the wonderful class. Put that in a macro. Like, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Shiva. It's just, I don't know about you, but for me, that's like 3 keystrokes. And okay, we do have, there are necessary social observances. But thank you for the wonderful class. It isn't quite on the level of what we find here in the exchanges between Vidura and Maitreya. I guess that's the extent of my essay. The Vidura was a wonderful devotee. He's described earlier as Kauravya, a member of the Kuru dynasty with which Krishna was connected. He's Vinitam, very gentle and cultured. He's and Upadhanam. He served used his body as a pillow for satisfying the Lord. The Lord was invited to take his meals at the house of Duryodhana, which meant, the royal prince and a royal feast. But Krishna wasn't very eager to, not at all eager to eat Duryodhana's food. He preferred to eat simple food at the house of a devotee, like Vidura. Okay.
In the chat box, Maharaj, Saraswati Mata echoes what you're saying. Even before you said it, she says, Krishna declined Duryodhana's invitation to a royal feast and instead dined at Vidura's house, where he ate simple prasadam. And when Vidura's wife offered a banana skin instead of the banana flesh, because she was in ecstasy, Krishna ate the banana skin out of love, even though Vidura tried to take it back. Vidura is truly very fortunate.
Yes. The devotee's offering, so Krishna is enthusiastic. Yes, very nice. Thank you. Maitreya vacha yada swaparyaya sardham jata swayam bhuvo manuhu pranjali pranatas chedam veda garbham apashata. The sage Maitreya said to Vidura, after his appearance, Manu, the father of mankind, along with his wife, thus addressed the reservoir of Vedic wisdom, Brahma, with obeisances and folded hands. Tvameka sarvabhutanam janmakrid vrittida pita tatapi na prajanam te shushusha kenava bhavet. You are the father of all living entities and the source of their subsistence, because they are all born of you. Please order us how we may be able to render service unto you. Purport: a son's duty is not only to make the father the source of supply for all his needs, but also, when grown up, to render service unto him. That is the law of creation, beginning from the time of Brahma. A father's duty is to bring up the son until he's grown. And when the son is grown up, it is his duty to render service unto the father. So this is culture, now gradually waning or rapidly waning. But this is culture. Life is not meant for sense gratification. Life is meant for performing prescribed duties. So the father has a duty to the son to maintain and supply the needs of the son, maintain the son and supply his needs. And the son also has a duty to the father to serve the father. So this is the law of creation, Prabhupada says. And this is, in a true culture, there's a strong sense that this is my duty. I have to, and therefore in India, it's very difficult sometimes for people to join the Krishna consciousness new movement. No, I have to serve my parents. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the West, the problem would be, no, man, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Following his own interests, his own whims, or his own idea, his own notions, but without that sense of duty, without that sense of duty. So, of course, Krishna consciousness transcends even such duties. But in the West, we don't even have a sense of those duties. Or increasingly, that sense is diminishing. But here, it's the natural duty of the son to respect the father, to carry out the orders of the father, is to serve the father. And finally, the transcendental duty is to serve the Supreme Father, Krishna. All right. Was there another comment there?
Yes, Maharaj. Tulsi Priya says, in all other religions, God the Father is seen as the provider and maintainer. But in Krishna consciousness, we are encouraged to grow up spiritually and serve the Lord.
Yeah, even if we see God as the father and maintainer, so then there should be some gratitude. He's maintaining me. He's supplying my needs. Eko bohnam yovidatatikam. So there should be some gratitude. There should be some gratitude. Yagyartat karmanon yaksha lokoyam karma. Whether we have an advanced concept of God, as in Krishna consciousness, or even just a rudimentary sense, this should be there. If God is our Father, then we should serve Him. And you get the materialistic, reductionistic worldview, where there is finally no final father, and therefore we just do what we like. We act according to whatever we think is going to make us happy. And of course it doesn't. So this is a life of ingratitude. This is so nice that God supplies us everything we need. The water, the air, the fruits, vegetables, grains, everything Krishna provides. And then, thank you very much, you're dead, you don't exist. You have no form, you have no quality, or I'm as good as you are. I am you. What kind of gratitude is that? So one should be appreciative. And Krishna is giving me so much. Let me serve Krishna. Okay, shall we stop here?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Nishavad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Ashto Tarasatri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srila Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Premanande. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jayadvaita Maharaj ki jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kamteya.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Meena. Hare